Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Fair Trading Commission's third renewable energy webinar in the series, how can you benefit, well, how can you get involved in renewable energy? So we want to welcome you all this evening. Thank you for coming out. We hope this evening the session will be informative and you guys can come and ask questions to the panelists as we go through this evening's proceedings. So first up, this evening, we are actually having a conversation with financial institutions in Barbados. And we have 4 institutions being represented. We have Tim Bradshaw from Bank of Nova Scotia. We have Tracy Sargent from the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, as well as Harriet Franklin. Then we also have Gregory Blackman from CIBC First Caribbean. And then we have Harriet Cadogan from Republic Bank Barbados Limited, supported by Carlos Beckles. Now, first thing first, housekeeping matters. Now, today, as we're here at this session, we are asking persons, well, first of all, the session is being recorded. That's the first thing, it's being recorded. Secondly, we are going to, right now, the mute and unmute function is actually disabled. So persons will be allowed to unmute themselves when it's time for questions. We're asking if you have any questions during any presentations, you can send it in the chat. Or if you can make a note so that at the end you can raise your hand and we can prompt you to unmute so that you can present or answer questions to the presenters. The order of the presentation will be first the FTC. We will have a short presentation first. Then we will have in this order the Bank of Nova Scotia, Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, CIBC First Caribbean, and then lastly we're going to have Republic Bank Barbados Limited. So we're talking about energy. The whole point of this webinar is renewable energy. Now, energy, we know about energy, but what we're focused on now is electricity. And electricity is actually the most widely used form of energy. We know this. And the thing about electricity is actually a secondary source of energy. Electricity cannot be garnered from anything by itself. It has to be converted from another source. Hence why it's a secondary source. And the third point about electricity is that it is electricity, energy can come in 2 forms, which is renewable or non-renewable. And this evening, we're focusing on renewable energy, forms of energy. Now, when we look at energy on a global view, historically, energy has been driven by fossil fuels, right? So we know this over the years, fossil fuels would have been the driver for electricity and energy all across the world. From 1985 to 2020, there was almost a 260% increase in electricity generation. And of that, renewable energy, the generation would have increased from 19% in 2000 to about 29% in 2020. Now, the transition to cleaner energy is propelled by the urgency of the world to combat the impacts of climate change. And we know that climate change is an impact that is a result of us as humans, our doing here on Earth that's caused the climate change. And therefore, it is very important to us how we actually create our energy, right? So this is now leads us on to our energy transition. Now, on a local view, we in the Caribbean, here in Barbados especially, we are extremely vulnerable to the high fluctuations in the global cost of fuel, and as well as the impacts of climate change. Those things, I mean, Barbados is a low-lying island state, so climate change actually impacts us, we know this. And in terms of the cost of fuel, we see this all the time, right? And fuel is what, as it stands right now, majority of our generation in Barbados is generated from fuel. So therefore, the fuel goes up, our prices go up, right? So this is actually very, very, very important to us. And the next point is that in the Caribbean, especially in Barbados, we have a very, 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 very high resource for, high resource potential for both solar and wind power, right? So that's why we should definitely look into utilizing those sources of energy to generate our electricity. Now, I have here your view, and your view meaning us as individuals, right? Now, electricity is actually fundamental to our lives. We use it for everything, like for development, for us, for any country to develop, for any community, for anyone to develop, for any institution to develop. Energy is involved, and that energy, as I said before, primarily is going to be in the form of electricity, right? So therefore, renewable energy is a must, because if we're doing more and more, for us to develop more and more, it means that we need to look at how we're actually developing that, well, generating that electricity. And we need to look towards renewable energy, because we're going to have less impacts, both in terms of the impacts on climate change, as well as even in terms of our pocket, the bottom line, because if it's going to be impacted heavily by the cost of fuel, we don't want that is based on fossil fuels, but we want it to be based on renewables, where we have readily accessible resource for renewable energy. And then lastly, we have here that dirty energy negatively impacts our local and national economies, and it also impacts our ability to advance, because again, the same things mentioned before, if it's the case that these dirty, meaning the ones from fossil fuel, if that energy is going to be, they have the high fluctuations in the cost of fuel, as well as the impacts of climate change, those are going to impact us negatively, because we're going to have to focus on those things, and we can't focus on the things that we want to focus on, right? And it also then impacts negatively on our very livelihoods, right? Because if the gas going up, if the price of fuel going up, it means the price of electricity going up, which means the price of goods going up, the price of groceries going up. So all of that actually impacts us at a very, very basic level in terms of individuals, right? Now, the Commission's perspective. Now, the Commission, our responsibilities at the Commission covers 3 areas: consumer protection, fair competition, and utility regulation. And utility regulation is the area that we are focusing on this evening, as this is where we are responsible for regulating the electricity sector in Barbados. Now, what we do, we also then determine the rates for electricity and renewable energy. And under those determination of the rates, we have a program, a feed-in tariff program, which is actually ending in this current program now is ending in December this year. However, we are currently developing the feed-in tariffs going forward. And there are 2 groups for the feed-in tariffs. There's under 1 megawatts, and then there is 1 megawatt to 10 megawatt. Now, there are 2 billing mechanisms here used in Barbados, and the 2 big billing mechanisms are: one is the sale of access, and sale of access is simply this: you use first and you sell the access to Light and Power. And that particular mechanism is used for systems 3 kilowatts and under. And then the other mechanism is buy all, sell all. Now, that is where you buy all of your electricity consumption from the grid, from Barbados Light and Power, and then you sell all that you generate on your system to Light and Power. And that is accessible for systems above 3 kilowatts. Now, continuing with the Commission's perspective. Now, many people may not know, but there's a community share program embedded in the feed-in tariffs, where if a group of persons, at minimum at least 15 persons, and this is residential individuals, if they come together and they set up a plant, a PV plant, they actually are allowed to get 10% premium on the existing rates. So the rates that are set for individuals in terms of the feed-in tariffs, if you come as a group with at least 15 persons, you're actually able to access a 10% premium on those tariffs, right? So it is meant to be an incentive for persons to come together to have community share, right? And this is for projects up to 1 megawatt, right? And in this particular program, no one person is allowed to have more than 50% share in the project, right? So it's 15 persons, but any one person cannot have more than 50% of the share in the project. And now, lastly, but continuing on from the Commission's perspective, you should know these things here, because a lot of people may not understand how it works here in Barbados. But the off-taker, being Barbados Light and Power Company Limited, they're required to take RE as the first source of electricity. So when you're generating, so people may think that when you generate electricity and your electricity may not sell to the grid, Light and Power will not buy your electricity, but they're required to take from you first, take from renewable energy sources first as their first source of electricity, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is that the terms and rates for your RE system are fixed for 20 years. There's no variations in your contract, in your agreement. So it's not like a mortgage where, maybe for the first year or 2 or 3, it is one rate and then it increases based on the market conditions. These terms for your system, these terms remain the same for the 20 years. So your rates are your rates for the 20 years. So they're fixed, right? They aren't impacted by the market. You should also know that you should actually try to size your system to offset your consumption with excess to be able to then sell to the grid. right? So that you can get a return from the rates that are being offered to you, right? You cover your demand first, and you can size over so that you can get a return, so that it makes sense for you. I mean, it makes sense off the bat if you're already offsetting your costs, if you're offsetting your consumption, but it is added benefit if you're able to then make a return off of it. You should also know that all homeowners have the right to install the system up to 5 kilowatt. So in the budget this year, they would have made the point here that you have the right, and it says here that there's no need for permit for up to 5 kilowatts now. Is now you just register your system, but you have the right to have a system up to 5 kilowatt, right? As a homeowner, and homeowner being the person who you own the house and you are living in the house. It's not a landlord putting it on a tenant's. I mean, it's their house, but it is the homeowner, right? So that is I think that is stipulation for this one, right? But you have the right to install a system up to 5 kilowatt without any permit being required. And the last thing is that you should also know that there are approximately 2,800 RA systems on the grid, and all these systems are currently under 1 megawatt each, but our total capacity now is about 65 megawatts. No, that is our perspective at FTC. And then we just have here, we have our website, Facebook and Instagram. So as we go into today's session, as I would have said before, today's session is in a series, how can you get involved in renewable energy? And this evening, we're actually meeting here with the financial institutions, and it's for them to now present to you what they're doing in their institutions to encourage and to advance the drive and the transition to renewable energies, and to show you essentially how you can get involved. That is the bottom line. We want to show you how you can get involved in renewable energy. So first up this evening, we're going to have the Bank of Nova Scotia, and that is going to be done by Kim Bradshaw, and she is, let me go back to this first slide to be sure I have it correct. She is the Premier Relationship Officer at Bank of Nova Scotia. Kim, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sheldon. Good evening, fellow panelists and viewers. It certainly is a pleasure to be part of this initiative today on renewable energy through the Fair Trading Commission. And I certainly hope that at the end of my presentation today, we would have assisted you in coming closer to a decision or better understanding the process of solar panel financing. So I'm going to share my screen. So as Sheldon says, I am a Premium Relationship Officer at Scotiabank, the Broad Street location.
Sorry,
and
sorry, Kim, your screen, you're not sharing the presentation.
Give me a minute. Just 1 minute. Are you seeing it? No?
No, I'm not.
Okay, in just 1 minute. Bear with me 1 minute.
Yes, it's coming.
You're seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Zoom. You go to the, yeah.
Okay, just let me make sure. All right. Okay. Like Sheldon said.
Oh, sorry, Kim, you're sharing the Zoom window. You're not sharing the you're not sharing the other window of the presentation.
I don't know what is happening here. Sorry, 1 minute.
Yeah, just make sure you're sharing the correct window.
Okay. Just give me 1 moment. Just let me get some assistance technically.
Okay, so Kim, so let me move on to the next person, right? And then,
Sure.
sorry, and then we'll come back to you, right?
Sure,
So,
no problem.
so that's what I'm gonna do. So up next, we're gonna have Tracy Sargent from the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union, and she's gonna be supported by Harriet Franklin, who is a retail manager.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the fellow panelists. Good afternoon to the viewers. Thank you to the Fair Trading Commission for having us this afternoon. We are going to be sharing a little about who we are, and we are also going to be giving information on our green loan. With me this afternoon is Harriet Franklin, who's our retail manager. And as Sheldon would have mentioned, my name is Tracy Sargent, and I am the credit manager. So I'm going to start a little bit about us. The Barbados Public Workers Credit Union Limited was established in May 1970 and has since grown to become not only the largest credit union, but also the largest indigenous financial institution. What pretty much that is saying, we are owned by our members. As of March 31st, 2022, Barbados Public Workers held assets in excess of 1.5 billion, and we are serving over 100,000 members from our headquarters, which is located at Belmont Road, and our various branches. We have branches in Bridgetown on the top of Broad Street. We have our 6 Rose branch in St. Philip. We have our Carlton branch in Black Rock. We have our Mile and a Quarter branch, which is located in St. Peter. And we have our mobile financial center, which is a mobile bus. BPWCCUL goes green. The Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited has aligned its strategy to the strategy of the country, which is to go green by 2023. It's reflected in the way we are retrofitting our buildings. We have also refurbished our windmill at our headquarters, and we have our green loan. With our green loan, that's what we're calling our renewable energy loan. It's our green loan. We are lending money for our electric vehicles. We have our solar panels. We have our solar water heaters, water tanks, any energy saving devices or equipment. So if you want to change out your bulbs in your house, if you want to purchase that solar water heater, if you want to purchase panels, we have the ability to meet with you, have conversations, discuss what is appropriate for you, and assist you with getting the finance to purchase and acquire these systems to make your property green and ready. We can also assist you in making your offices green and ready. The benefits and opportunities. At present, we all know that the government of Barbados is giving you income tax allowances. You can control and save on your future energy related expenses. You can earn income from going green. We have low loan payments. We offer up to 100% financing with a maximum repayment of 20 years. We give an annual loan rebate, and I'll explain this. Once you're a member of the organization and you have a loan, at the end of the financial year, we give you back some of the interest that you've already paid. So I can't ask for anything better than that, getting back some of the interest that you've paid. That's a remarkable benefit. You have options to pay online, and you can get discount at any of our providers or discount partners on anything that you're purchasing. If you're purchasing solar panels, etc., you can get discounts. At present, we have an exciting promotion going on. We are offering our existing mortgage holders the benefit of coming in and applying for the green loan. The interest rate is 4.75%. You get 20 years to repay, and you get the added benefit of $300 to assist with the insuring of the panels. Our renewable energy product, which is our green loan, the minimum loan amount is $5,000. The maximum loan amount is $600,000. The maximum repayment period is 20 years. And if we are holding the panels as security, we hold 90% of the value of the panels. And obviously then you get your insurance to insure those panels because we're holding them as security, and the interest rate is 4.75%, a pretty reasonable and low interest rate. And we should mention here as well, it's on the reducing balance. The required documents, what documents you would need if you need to come in and speak with us. You need your job letter, pay slips for at least 2 months, proof of address, the invoice from the vendor. All our loans ask for a qualifying share, and confirmation from the insurance company that they're going to offer you comprehensive insurance on the panels. But this would only be if we are holding the panels as security. This is the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask those questions at the end of the presentation. Once again, I would say my name is Tracy Sargent. I'm the credit manager. Our information will be at the end of the screen, and you can contact us at any of our numbers. You can call through our call center. You can use our email to contact us, and we will be available to answer any questions that you may have on this product or any product that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No. So as was mentioned, the questions that any person have any questions, what you can do is that you can send the questions in the chat. No, if you so desire, but if not, we will wait to the end after all the persons have presented. We will take questions at the very end. Where persons will be able to raise their hand, and we will then allow you to answer questions to any of the panelists going forward. Well, in that session. Now we're moving on. We're going to go back to Kim. Kim, have you started out the thing? Were you able to? Or Kim, because well, if you want, I can share it for you. You want me to share it for you?
Hi, 1 minute. We're coming there. All these technical difficulties. Just 1 minute.
No problem. All right, guys. All right. Actually, know that we're waiting on Kim. Is there anyone here that has a question that they want to ask? Okay, well, we're up and running. So, Kim, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what went wrong there just now. However, thank you so much for having us on your discussion this afternoon. I am Kim Bradshaw, as you would have mentioned, prior Premium Relationship Officer at Scotiabank, Broad Street. I was alluding to the fact before that at the end of my discussion today, I would hope that we can come closer to, well, assist you in becoming closer to a decision or better understanding the process for solar panel financing. Sorry about that technical difficulty. So here we go. So at Scotiabank, we recognize the benefits of investing in renewable energy provided for our valued customers, such as you save money on your energy bills, the opportunity to improve the home, increase the value of the home, social responsibility, and making a cleaner environment for our future. The products that we have designed for you at Scotiabank, we have unsecured loans and secured loans to help finance the solar panels. There are several different energy tools like we would have mentioned, sorry, the solar panel loans. We also have the solar water heaters. We also have equity financing and switch mortgages with home improvements. So I would get into a little details on each product for you. On the solar panel loans, we offer up to 5% interest rate. There's a quick turnaround. And we also have partners, energy partners that we work with, which is Solar Watts Systems Inc. We also have Equitech, there's Goldfield, and Williams Solar. However, we are not limited to any of these companies because you may already started, your research on your panels, and you can also provide us with an invoice for your company of choice, and we would be happy to offer you financial advice and planning free of cost. And just to mention to you, the interest rate of 5% is a fixed rate. I spoke about the equity financing on mortgages. In this instance, this is for persons who already have an existing mortgage with Scotia. In this instance, you use the value of the property versus, well, what we look at, sorry, I should say, is the value of the property versus the balance you have outstanding on your mortgage. This is where the difference between the balance on the existing mortgage the difference between the balance and the value can be used, which is what we call equity. This can be quite useful since you're able to consolidate funds into your existing facility and pay one monthly fee. We encourage you at this time through our financial advising to consider any other outstanding debt at that time to consolidate in your new facility. We offer our mortgages up to 30 years. And having said that, we certainly do not discriminate on age. We can look at, then we also look at the switch mortgages. That's another option that you have for those persons who do not have an existing mortgage with us. We have a discussion with you where you can look at the option of switching your mortgage, your existing mortgage from the institution that you currently are at to Scotia. And the benefits of this, you obviously look at reducing your interest rate on that facility. This is also an opportunity where you can use to consolidate any existing debt and certainly include the funding for home improvement, which can be on your solar panels, etc. Again, for these mortgages, we go up to 30 years. Our interest rates are quite flexible, and we have a full discussion with you as it relates to, advice planning and ensuring that, you look at everything holistically so that when you're looking at switching your mortgage, you also consider anything that you have pending to make it more affordable for you. What to bring, what we require to make these things possible. So you can bring your job letter, your last two pay slips, proof of address, your proof of ID, statements for any existing debt outside of Scotiabank, proof of assets, in this case, would be like your land tax, any savings accounts you have at any other institution, any insurance policies you can use, well, the cash surrender value can be considered an asset, and your invoice for purchase. If it is that you are looking to do the mortgage financing rather than that of an unsecured or secured loan, you would also, in addition to this, be able to present us with your insurance document, which would give us an idea holistically of all the liabilities that you have outstanding, and also a statement to show what you owe on your mortgage at that particular time. At Scotia, we are very happy to sit and have a discussion with you, look at your total picture so we are better able to advise. We pride ourselves in not only soliciting for, financial, looking to get you to purchase or loans or whatever, but we really want to make sure that we are looking at the total picture for you and we are advising you properly to be able to get to that next step. So this is it in a nutshell for us, and we would save the questions and answers as well until the end of the presentation. Certainly, I'm sorry for that, what we call that jump start, but definitely I would be able to discuss a lot further if anyone should have any questions at the end of our presentations this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you very much. Okay, so up next, we have Gregory Blackman. He is from CIBC First Caribbean. He is the Associate Director, Sales and Business Development. Gregory, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sheldon. Just confirm that you're seeing my screen.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, fantastic. Well, first off, I want to say a special thank you to the team at the Fair Trading Commission for organizing another timely session to sensitize Barbadians with the opportunities to invest in renewable energy. We at CIBC First Caribbean are certainly proud to facilitate increased ownership of the ability to generate your own power, and are fully committed to supporting the government's national energy policy, which sees Barbados leading the Caribbean in its goal to achieve 100% of its electricity and energy sources from renewable sources. Okay, so the key question that most persons ask is why should I bother? Why is it worth my while? And I do have to start by really commending the excellent work by the Fair Trading Commission. That image in the center of your screen actually symbolizes a very facilitative regulatory framework. At this time, Barbados is actually leading the region in having what they've described as what Sheldon would have described earlier as a feed-in tariff regime, which, even though it may have been covered fairly quickly in that opening session, I can't stress how important and how vital it is for providing confidence for persons seeking to invest in this sector. That essentially guarantees your rate for a period of 20 years. So not only do you know the amount you're earning per kilowatt hour, that rate is locked in for 20 years. And even as that rate is renewed, the new rates apply to new investments. So you can invest with confidence knowing that the framework itself allows for you to really, and I'll go through the other images. In the bottom right, you'll see a multi-generational family, basically creating intragenerational wealth. In the top left, you'll see that it helps us to save on that very important foreign exchange US dollar, the British pound, the euro. Of course, also linked to the future generations, we want to combat climate change. And of course, for those persons who recall the impact during the pandemic and the loss of your ability to earn, say, additional sources of income, one of the unique features about investments in renewable energy is that it's a passive income source. So as long as the sun comes out, you're earning money. So on those very hot days, you're smiling because you know that your family is earning. So what exactly are CIBC's First Caribbean's renewable energy solutions? So first off, we're gonna cover the investment in photovoltaic or PV systems. We offer up to 100% financing. So essentially, and up to 100,000 Barbados for a rooftop system with 100% financing. So essentially, I challenge anyone in the audience to find, and this is our residential solutions. I would love for you to show me a roof that can actually take more than $100,000 in financing. So essentially, we can finance all or 99.9% of residential rooftop spaces. We offer this financing up to 10 years. Many of our clients actually recognize that they are earning more than the loan payment, and they actually have chosen to repay these loans in accelerated fashion, but we provide them with an attractive 10-year loan term. Our loan application process is quite seamless. We do actually facilitate decisions within 48 hours of receiving all the documentation, and our clients as well as the installers love this. Our interest rate is normally 5%. However, those persons that are part of the session today, we will extend the special rate of 4.75%. And just as an additional incentive in conjunction with the partnership with the Fair Trading Commission to make this financing more accessible to the Barbadian public. However, there's more to renewable energy than just solar panels. We recognize that many persons, with the introduction of those tax incentives earlier this year, are also either actively looking at ways to switch their combustion engine vehicle to an electric vehicle, or just counting down until that time comes and they will be replacing it with electric vehicles. So what do we offer on new electric vehicles? We offer up to 100% financing. Again, we have very attractive interest rates for new electric vehicles. I can confirm that we would offer 4%, and we will offer up to 8 years to repay for new electric vehicles. Now, and I want to stress that while we are specifying new electric vehicles, we do also recognize that where clients can identify a dealership that has provided for A, the parts, and B, the servicing of that electric vehicle, we are prepared to look at those used electric vehicles as well. At this time, we have pre-approved the following dealerships for that type of arrangement, but we are constantly revisiting and expanding. But Mega Power, Courtesy, NASCO, ANSA Motors, Platinum Motors, Simpson Motors. So all of the new car dealerships, as well as Mega Power, and I can also add Endless Electric, which has its own service bay and stocks its parts. But as I mentioned, if you have identified a dealership that both stocks the parts and services the vehicle, we are happy to review that request. And this measure is simply to ensure that the interests of our clients are well taken care of, because that is the major consideration when persons are investing in electric vehicles. Parts available and servicing is provided for. So how do you get started? We recommend that you contact at least 2 established installers. And you'll see a bit lower down, if you don't have a sense as to where to start, I do strongly recommend that you reach out to BREA. It's Barbados's Renewable Energy Association. It represents a number of the certified installers, and they can certainly give you options. Once you've identified at least 2, so you can have some quotes, so you know what is a fair price, speak with your lender. Actually, on this webinar, I do see a number of persons from some of our different branches. I saw Kathy Short from our Rendezvous location, Karen Bannister from Sheraton, saw Dwayne Durant from Sheraton, Francine Arthur from Warrens, Rico Griffith from Spikestown. But if you have an existing lender, you can reach out to your existing lender, or you can also reach out to me. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation, and I can channel your request. Once you have completed the first 2 steps, this is a major investment. So we want you to protect that investment and ensure that you extend your insurance coverage to capture this investment and have your policy updated to cover your panels. We also suggest you have a realistic conversation with the installer about the timeline for installation, including the period for connection to the grid. Having shortlisted the minimum of 2 installers, that's now you're ready to make your selection. And then finally, of course, you want to eliminate that light bill. And I can tell you from personal experience that there's nothing more satisfying than to see our clients when they get that first bill showing that they're no longer required to pay light and power, and those ratcheting up bills is a thing of the past. So we look forward to helping you assist that moment as well. So what documentation do you need? So the pro forma invoice for that system, which should also list the total capacity as well as the annual revenue estimated, proof of ID, proof of address. We also leverage the credit bureau to facilitate expedited applications. And for salary persons, we recommend your most recent, I say, pay slip for monthly workers. But if you're weekly paid workers, you want to have the pay slips for an entire month. And that job letter, also your job letter should be less than 2 months old. And of course, we do not discriminate against self-employed persons. You're welcome here at CIBC First Caribbean, and we would need the equivalent of those pay slips and job letters, which in the self-employed world translates to financial statements or the last 2 years tax returns. So actually, before I want to also add that, I'm just going to go back a slide or 2, that while it's not explicitly stated here, we do also partner with all of the major installers, and we include the investments in battery systems. So if you've ever experienced a blackout and thought, man, I need to invest in some batteries so that the next time this goes out, I can continue my small business, which I operate from my house, or if I work from home 1 or 2 days a week, that I am never interrupted. We facilitate financing for investments in those battery systems as well. So whatever your renewable energy investment, CIBC First Caribbean is happy to partner with you. And we look forward to addressing your questions and answers at the end. And I would have mentioned some of my teammates in the audience, but you can also email me for follow-up, and I can connect you with one of our lenders. So at this time, I will turn the presentation back over to Mr. Marshall. Back over to you, Sheldon.
Thank you very much, Gregory. Thank you for that presentation. And so we have one more presentation before we move on to question and answer. We have from Republic Bank Barbados Limited, we have Harriet Cadogan, and she's supported by Carlos Beckles. Harriet.
Hi, good night. Hi, good night, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. So thank you for inviting Republic Bank to this session. Good night to everyone on the panel. So Republic Bank Limited is one of the longest serving banks in Barbados, with a heritage stemming from Barbados National Bank, previously known as the Savings Bank. Republic Bank has grown by leaps and bounds to become the go-to financial institution for mortgages, with seven branches strategically located across the island and with the widest ATM network of 27 machines. Republic Bank prides itself on service with knowledgeable and customer-friendly staff willing to assist with your every need. At September 30th, 2021, Republic Bank Limited asset base stood at US $2.713 billion of one of the 21 subsidiaries of Republic Bank Group holdings across the Caribbean region and Ghana. So Republic Bank is in the renewable energy space as a partner in the United Nations Sustainable Goals under the principle of responsible banking. RBL has allotted US $200 million to assist in the climate change action. This includes renewable energy sector, which are the wind, solar, battery pack, electric and hybrid vehicles. So our banking products include personal banking, corporate banking, commercial banking. So some of our products that we offer are mortgages, loans, home equity loans, renewable energy, internet and electronic banking, deposit savings accounts, e-pay, credit cards, international debit cards, and premium banking services. According to our managing director, Mr. Anthony Clark, in Barbados, energy and climate goals have been set. Chief among those goals are becoming 100% carbon neutral in 2030. Republic Bank intends to play a pivotal role in helping the country reach that goal. So our renewable energy packages for the consumer, meaning personal, include solar system financing. We have the grid tie. We also have off-grid or standalone. We also have the battery pack financing. We have photovoltaic farms on the roof or on the ground. And these systems can be financed secured or unsecured. Our interest rate is 3.5% if you have a mortgage with us, that as low as 3.5%. And we give 100% financing up to 15 years. We also allow you to pay interest only for 6 months. It means that you don't have to pay a monthly payment, full monthly payment. You just pay interest only for 6 months. We also do unsecured if you don't have a mortgage with us, and the interest rate for that is 5%, 100% financing up to 10 years and a maximum amount of 50,000. So our interest rates are pretty reasonable, are the best, as I should say. We also have a renewable package for cars. We have the electric and hybrid vehicles, right? And for new vehicles, our interest rate is 3.6% if you have a mortgage with us. If you don't have a mortgage with us, for a new vehicle, it's 3.9%, 100% financing up to 8 years, as low as 3.6% if you have a mortgage to purchase a new vehicle. We also finance used vehicles, electric and hybrid. The interest rates are 4.75%, or 5.25%. And we require a deposit depending on the age of the vehicle between 5 and 10% up to 7 years. We also have a corporate package, which we finance roof mounted or ground installation. But the terms of our corporate package is up to 80% financing. The interest rate will vary according to the equity injection and the strength of the application. Up to 15 years we give for that. You also have interest only for 12 months, or you have the option of capitalizing that interest. You don't have to pay any interest at the end of the, when you go onto the grid and you start getting your income, we capitalize that interest for you. So pretty much you wouldn't have to pay anything for 1 year. We also finance other projects like solar farms, hydro farms, wind farms, and opening to financing other projects as the renewable energy market opens up in Barbados. What is required? What does a consumer require to get started? You have to, one, submit a detailed proposal inclusive of technical details, including projections of annual income from an installer. 2, the proposal is to include a company profile of the installer. We ask for that so that we can get an understanding of the installer and the experience that that installer have and that's important. We also require to do assignment of insurance over the system to be in place, if not already included in your property insurance. And a maintenance annual fee for the insurance, and confirmation of public liability insurance for properties for a coverage of 100,000 or 500,000 for systems greater than 10 kilowatts as required by the Barbados Light and Power for inclusion on the Renewable Energy Rider and Feed-in Tariff Program. And 6, submission of all relevant license and approvals from GED and the Ministry of Energy to support conversion of the bridging facility to an amortized repayment structure. What is required for a corporate customer? 5 years projections. The installer will give you a year projections on how much you would earn in that year. We're asking for corporate customer to do 5 years projections. Installers should also provide a company profile and a detailed proposal. Assignment of insurance over the system, if not already included in the property insurance. Confirmation of public liability, like with the consumer one, for a coverage of up to 100,000 or 500,000 for a system greater than 10 kilowatts. A submission of all relevant license and approvals from Town and Country Planning and Ministry of Energy to support reversion of the bridging rate. Power purchase agreement for systems greater than 1 megawatt. And connection impact assessment, environmental impact assessment if it is required, and an acknowledgement from Barbados Light and Power that space is reserved on the grid, and evaluation of the property. So the application process, you receive the installer's proposal, the evaluation of the property, complete the questionnaire, and preparation and submission of the application. After we do all of that, we give an offer letter and we start the legal process if required. So if you have any questions or further comments, you can contact myself, Harriet Cadogan, at the Warrens branch, or Carlos Beckles at our corporate and commercial credit department. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask them now, seeing that I'm the last presenter. Sheldon, back over
Yes,
to you.
please. Thank you very much, Harriet. Thank you very much. Thank you all to the panelists for presenting your presentations from your respective institutions. I'm going to open the floor now for any person anyone in the audience, any participant who is here who wishes to ask any question to any of the banks or institutions represented here this evening. They gave us a lot of information there, a lot of information. I have some questions here, but I wanted to see if anybody had any questions first before I ask. I see one hand here. Let me allow you to unmute. Go ahead, Rand.
Hey, good night. Hey, good night. Good night. Lovely presentation so far. So I'm really thankful that I was extended the opportunity to listen in. But I just had one question. This is for Scotiabank. I just wanted to know if you guys offered financing for electric vehicles as well. I know you spoke heavily on the solar systems. Just want to know if y'all had an appetite for the vehicles as well.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much. Yes, we certainly do have an appetite for the electric vehicles. We offer up to 8 years. We do a deposit depending. We can have from 5% up to 20%. And we do, well, based on the deposit, we also offer, cashback of up to 5% of the, well, we do offer cashback of 5%, up to $5,000. So for us, we would say that a deposit is a good opportunity because one, you pay less monthly fee, and even though you do pay a deposit up front, the cashback still assists you to put some money in hand at the end of the financing. So don't see it as a downfall, because we know we did hear of persons with 100%, but actually putting a deposit in is a good opportunity to at least have a lower monthly payment. And like I said, the cashback assists as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Kim. Kathy-Ann, I see your hand is up.
Hi, good night, everyone. So I have a general question across the panel. I'm from the Fair Trading Commission. The feed-in tariff decisions that we've issued have covered not only solar panels, but they would have also covered other technologies such as wind, biomass, etc. So my question is whether your projects, your funding covers only the ones that you've given us tonight, if they cover only solar, or if they also cover other technologies as would have been included in our feed-in tariff decisions.
Okay, from the credit union perspective, we do offer solutions as it relates to our financing for other types, like wind. You can do wind and you can do the solar together. You can do battery, so based on what the client or member requires, we do offer the solution, financing for them.
Right, at Republic Bank, we offer solar farm, wind farm, battery, and hydro farms. So yes, we do offer other financing besides the roof mounted and grid tied.
I can also confirm that CIBC First Caribbean finances all types of commercial renewable energy applications. We would have tailored this evening's presentation for primarily the residential customer, but we certainly support all of the technologies cited in the FTC feed-in tariff document.
And for us at Scotiabank, we also offer a wide range of products as it relates to the renewable energy. Um, well, including unsecured facilities, we do have a great threshold where you are able to have up to as much as 100,000 in unsecured credit. So depending on the situation, that's why we always encourage you to come in and sit down and have a full financial discussion with any of our um, officers where we can look at the whole picture. And when you bring in your documents, we are able then to assess the situation and be able to offer you the best possible suite to tailor your needs.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have a question I want to ask. I noticed that a lot of you guys in the presentations, each of the institution, you guys have stated for requirement, one requirement says a job letter. But the question I want to ask is, how long should I be working for my job letter to qualify for me to get a loan for renewable energy? Well, since I answered everybody, let me pick first. We can go with, okay, but all right, Tracy, you can go first. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, good night, Sheldon. So you should be past your probation. So if you're past your probation in 3 months, we accept. If it's 6 months, we accept the job letter.
Okay,
But
thank
you
you.
should be past your probationary period.
Okay, okay. Gregory, sorry, go ahead.
Sure. So excellent question, Sheldon. What I would say the first checkpoint is actually the client themselves, where in addition to being past the probationary period, the client should first be comfortable with the stability of the income. We certainly also have considered where someone, let's say, has been working with one company for several years, but is offered a promotion at another place, but they need, let's say, transportation, and they've chosen an electric vehicle. So we look at the client's full picture, and where that person has an excellent repayment record, even when they are within that, say, probationary period. There can be provision for those persons who do have an established employment record or earnings record to be considered. So we do recommend that the clients first assess the situation themselves, and we also recommend that they be out of probation. But there are some legitimate scenarios where it's a chicken and egg situation. You need the car to be effective in your job, but you need to get past the probation to get the loan, to get the car. So we're flexible is the bottom line.
Okay, so before I let the others come in, let me just pick up on something you said just now. You said that it is the client should assess. I mean, so me, the customer coming to you, I should assess my situation, or is the case that?
Of course. So we are advocating financial responsibility, and that first level of insight starts with the client. The client will know oftentimes, whether they are comfortable with the employment situation, and so they should first assess how stable that employment is before they take on any type of debt.
Okay, so may I ask another question? One more question to that. Now, what if because you said the person should be able to assess themselves, but what if I'm not able to? Meaning, let me put it this way, because what if I don't know? So if I don't know in terms of what I should be considering, I mean, it's sort of a silly question, but what if I don't know? I don't know enough to make that determination.
That's fine, right? No, great follow-on question, and that's where our team is happy to engage that client directly, help them to complete that financial health check and determine what's the right approach for them.
Okay, thank you. Harriet, you can go ahead.
Right. So at Republic Bank, as we normally, you must be working for 2 years. But as Gregory said, if you were working somewhere else before and you're transitioning, we tend to look at your application. So we wouldn't discriminate if you are now only working for, say, 6 months. But because you have a history of working, we will look at your application But generally speaking, if you had just started working fresh out the blocks, it would be 2 years, because we give you some time to build up that history as such.
Okay, thank you. And Kim?
Hi, yes, ours is, well, we are 2 years as well. Similarly to all the other institutions, it really depends on if it is continuous employment. In the instance, if it isn't, once you are already a Scotiabank customer and you would have been a customer for a particular time and you would have had credit with us before, we look at your capacity to be able to repay. Of course, as it relates to how you would have paid for any existed, well, any facilities, any past facilities you would have had, we would also look at that. And that's why it's very important that we pride ourselves in our financial advice and planning, because that forms a big picture for us in to be able to determine how best we can advise you and how we can help you towards achieving your goals fundamentally.
Okay, thank you very much, very much. So another question I want to ask, I remember public workers in the presentation, it was said that you get a rebate on the interest, right? I noticed that you didn't mention what that is. Is it a fixed number? It is a percentage of the interest?
The percentage is determined at our annual general meeting, which is held yearly.
Okay.
So
okay.
the members, the current members,
Mhm.
they vote on the percentage, and what is agreed on, then we would pass it back on to the same members.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question, Sheldon, actually.
Yes,
This is Kathy-Ann again.
Mhm.
So I know several of you spoke about security, using the panels as security for the loan. But so I'm thinking about this from a logical perspective. If an individual comes to you, you take out a loan, and 10 years down the line, that person is having challenges making the payment on the loan, let's say 5 years. Yeah, 10 years, making a payment on the loan to the point where the bank, the lender finds that it's necessary to seize the assets, seize the security asset. Now, 10 years down the line, technologies have changed. There's been some degradation in the panel, so you're not getting the same level of output from these panels. There's no, well, at least from this perspective right now, there's no market for resale of panels. So my question to you is, what in considering panels as security, what thoughts have the various lending institutions really given to using that as an appropriate security, realistically knowing that the value of that panel as actual security can really vary over time and might not be worth enough to recoup any kind of losses or anything back if there's something if it comes to that point?
So I'll take part of that question. So as I said in my presentation, to our mortgage customers, so if the person has a mortgage, they ideally will have a house. So we would have security that is sufficient to cover. Ideally up front, in the first 8 years or so, you should be getting significant amounts of money from the panels. We usually encourage our customers, if you're getting sufficient to pay the loan and have a little bit in your hand and pay your light bill, that you try to front load that loan so that you wouldn't take it down to 20 years. I don't see that it should be a problem, especially for the mortgage customer. For the unsecured customer, that's the risk that the bank will take up front. We should be able to get that paid back within a particular point in time. And it is a risk. Because as you said, you can't, the panels after a while, after probably 10, 15 years will decline in value.
Okay, thank you. Gregory, say your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Sheldon, and thank you, Kathy Ann, for the question. So I really would like to join with Harriet in saying that this is a risk that the bank has assessed at First Caribbean, but we think that because of the feed-in tariff framework and because of the passive income that's being generated, that it's a bankable and a reasonable risk, because this is not like, let's say, the purchase of a vehicle where you're only relying on the value of the asset, but what we're also relying on is the passive income that's being generated, which in the majority of cases will actually service the loan. So the loan term, it does have to be set at a reasonable point that provides a buffer so that even with the degradation, the client actually is able to fully repay the loan before that degradation gets to a certain unsustainable point. But we think that the income being generated along with the bill of sales that are available to basically let the client know, hey, you have this debt, we want you to repay, we think you'll repay, but just as a protection for the banks, the bill of sale is there, but the real source of repayment is the cash flow from the feed-in tariff program.
Okay, thank you. Tracy, I see your hand is up as well.
Yes, please. So just like everyone would have said, if it's a secured loan, well, the mortgage is there over the property. So the property would be holding that security pretty much. We would encourage our members, those conversations would be real, those conversations would be interactive. We would encourage our members, if they're making money back on their panels, to put in more, because there might be times, as Kathy Ann would have mentioned, where you might meet a hard time. So if you start putting in your money early and paying forward on that loan, that will help you if things go bad. However, in the short term, if we're not holding the property, the panels as security, or if we are holding the panels as security for a short-term loan, after 5 years, obviously that balance would have reduced. We would have conversations with our members, and we can restructure that loan for the members to give them an even more manageable payment to help them to be able to carry the burden and be able to keep their panels and have a manageable payment that they can work with. So those are things that we can look at to assist the members, because we recognize the risk, but we are also willing to hold the hands of our members and to assist them if they meet any rough path along the way.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Does anything else anybody wanted to add? Kim, you wanted to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll add something. For Scotia, we do not hold the solar panels as security. That's why in our advice, we normally would go the route of the mortgage. And if we do that, the property is held as security. Therefore, if there's any delinquency or anything like that, we are too able to call in the customer. We discuss what the situation is, and we work around trying to make the payments a little bit more affordable so that we are able to sustain the facility for them. But definitely we don't hold the solar panels as security.
Okay.
And for the unsecured facility, that is the loan, it speaks for itself. That's the risk that the bank will take. Hence the reason why we make sure that we have a thorough discussion, and based on the past history of the customer, we're able to, channel and advise accordingly so that we make sure that they have an amount that is within their debt service that they can manage.
Right. And typically too, after I think 10 years, based on some research, the panels may not work by 0.1% yearly. So I mean, within a 10-year period, it is hoped that that member would have already paid off for the loan, and now whatever they are generating now becomes their income. Yeah. So we are working with the projection that after that 10-year period, the loan will be paid off. Should the loan be done for 10 years?
Yeah, understood.
But that would depend on the structure of the loan, obviously.
Yes. Mhm.
Definitely, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No, anybody else in the chat? Anyone wants here present this evening has any questions they want to ask? Any questions? I have another question I want to ask. It's a quick question, actually, a simple question. I noticed that in the numbers that were provided for the percentages for the rates for the different loans, what I wanted to know, are those rates fixed for the period, or is it a case that those rates change based on market conditions? And this is open to everyone, because everyone would have stated the stated rates, but I didn't know, it wasn't a case where it stated for sure that it was fixed, or if it was a case where those rates vary based on the market.
So our rates at Republic Bank are fixed.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
The same here for the credit union. Our rates are fixed.
Okay. Gregory?
Our rates
Okay.
at Scotia, sorry, our rates at Scotia is fixed as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so the First Caribbean rates, they're listed as variable tied to prime. However, for context, the prime rate has not changed in over a decade. So it's not anticipated that there would be changes there
Okay. Understood.
for existing clients.
Understood. Understood.
So I think, Sheldon, I will jump in here again and say, I think that this is a really good session because it gives a listener, an average individual, a chance to get lots of information about several different lending institutions all in one place. So then you have an idea of where you can start, because from each of you, we would have gotten an idea about rates, about terms, about security requirements, about job documents I need to bring in, etc. And so I think I really appreciate that you all agreed to come to the session and share what you have to offer to customers out there. My question to you is this, and I mean, yes, you've done some really interesting slides. If I were someone just walking through your door and say to you, well, I hear about this renewable energy thing, what to do? I'm interested in joining and getting involved. Just what would be the first thing that you would tell me to do?
All right, we're gonna start first with we're gonna start with Kim first. Kim, you gotta go first.
Okay, sure. So I would definitely invite them into my office and have a thorough discussion, finding out exactly what they're interested in as it relates to the renewable energy. Of course, I'll be able to share with them, the idea in terms of, well, try to get as much information out of them as it relates to the costs. Then I would go through the various options that they have, give them this list, of course, the list with all the requirements, and then, we would do a follow-up appointment where we can look at deep dive directly into, what our next steps would be for sure. But it would be to have a holistic conversation with the customer to see exactly where they're at.
Okay, thanks. We're gonna go to public workers. So either
Hey.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
So the first thing, we will have that conversation to find out exactly what they're looking at, what the needs of their family is, what they can afford. Then when we look at those things, we would recommend that they have a conversation with not only one installer, but at least two installers, and have them bring that information back to us. Let's look at the costing. Once again, we would look at the payment and make sure that that member can afford to make their repayments without any difficulty. Once that is noted and the persons are comfortable with the analysis and the assessment that we would have given to them after the deep conversation, we can start the process then in terms of bringing in your job letters, pay slips, etc. Let's start the actual loan. Would it be added to your mortgage if it's an existing mortgage holder, or if we would be doing a standalone loan and processing that way? So we will have those conversations, make sure the persons understand what it is they really want to be doing, what they're actually getting into, and what they can afford, because affordability is going to be very important. Even though you will be making money, you still have to look at what your family needs are, and that is what we will be doing initially.
Thank you.
Adding to what Tracia has said, I know that our conversation was tied primarily to grid tie, but there is also options as it relates to battery base. So we also will have that type of discussion to understand if the person is looking for the grid tie option, which will give you revenue, or you're looking for opportunity cost type of thing from the battery base system, where when the electricity is out, you still have some level of service outside of the grid. So we kind of have the detailed discussion, understanding what the member wants, and help guiding them based on what they are asking for. What we also will do is make a recommendation for BREA, because BREA, as was said by Gregory, is an institution that represents Barbados. So, if the person doesn't know an installer, we will send them there so that they can, although we do have partners, we will give them the option along with going and selecting someone if they choose to reach out to BREA. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Republic Mike?
If you don't mind, Harry, I'll take this one. Right, so first things first, we'll have a discussion with the customer to find out what their needs are, because people have different needs. Some people actually want to make money from the system. Some people just want to be energy efficient. So once we get the quote from the installer, then we will discuss the options. So for those persons that really want to be energy efficient and stuff, we will structure the loan accordingly in line with the payments you'll be getting from the Barbados Electric Power. Those persons that are trying to make money from it, because really and truly most persons don't want it to be additional burden. We want to look at it as a standalone facility really, so that it can be able to repay for itself. So once we look at how much money you're earning from the system, then we will structure the loan accordingly. Generally speaking, as I said, Harriet mentioned, we have the lowest rates on the market anyway. So once is a mortgage customer, the payments are already low, so there will be excess funds. As she said, it could forward loan, just mean it pay faster, so we will probably structure it, but it can go up to 15 years if you're a mortgage customer, if it's unsecured 10. And we will just structure the loan accordingly to fit the customer's needs. And again, those persons that really just want to be energy efficient and those things, they would prefer a higher payment to get rid of the loan faster and just make it in line with the payment that you're getting, because they're really not trying to make money from it. So truly, once we just base the loan based on the customer's needs. But generally, we'll ask for the quote from the installer. We ask for a utility bill, a light bill, because we want to ensure that the loan, that the money that you earn is enough to cover your light bill, because you don't want to be paying that and you've got the panels on your house. And from there, then we will have the discussion in terms of your additional needs. But those are the two main things that we need, and the general stuff for loans, it should be confirmation of income, confirmation of debt. That's it basically.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but not least, Gregory.
Sure, thanks, Sheldon. So similar to the other institutions, of course, it all starts with that conversation with the client. And in addition to assessing their current energy needs, our experience has shown that really and truly those needs change over time. So we actually encourage persons to think about how their family or their energy needs might evolve. For example, we had clients who were very early adopters who invested in renewable energy systems, maybe as far back as 2014. I can think of a couple clients whose families have since grown. And now, of course, the system that they invested in is no longer adequate for their expanded needs. So you want to think not only of your current needs, but maybe you're planning on installing some additional appliances that aren't there now, or you have a baby on the way and that machine is going to be going nonstop. So the financial conversation, thinking about your current and future needs, the quotation from the installer is key. And as mentioned earlier, we do recommend that, good consideration be given to an installer that can honor the warranty. And just for the information of the audience, most systems come with a standard 25-year warranty for solar panels, as well as a standard 10-year warranty for inverters. So there is some comfort there in terms of the performance of the systems over those two periods, 10 years for inverters, 25 years for panels. So we do recommend the selection of a certified installer so that they're there to honor the warranty, and also so that that they're a reputable company that has completed projects of this size and their reviews available. I would also add that, like the other institutions, we do, of course, extend financing to mortgage clients at better rates, and the client has the option of using equity financing. However, we have also seen where the reality is that clients really just want to take out this loan and pay it back as quickly as possible. So that's why we have set our term at around 10 years, which we think is the Goldilocks length. So back over to you, Sheldon.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple questions here in the chat. Well, someone sent a couple questions, and then Kathy has her hand up. But before Kathy comes, something Lisa said, I brought to say what Lisa said. Lisa said also solar providers provide, they have sales yearly on secondhand panels. But the question to you, panelists, if I am a customer coming to you, saying to you that I have obtained now some secondhand panels, right? Some secondhand modules. We keep saying panels, but technically speaking, they're modules, right? It bothers me a little bit just because a panel is the brick in the house. And you can't have two panels when it comes to electrical documentation. So modules, right? So you have secondhand modules. I come to you, I say I have secondhand modules, and the system was designed using those secondhand modules. Is that going to be impact on? Is that going to have any impact on my not mortgage, my financing instrument with you guys, given that it is not a quote unquote new system? It is now a used system. Does that have any power? Does that not make a difference or have any much impact? Anybody?
Can I answer that question actually, Sheldon?
Okay, go ahead.
Because so our feed-in tariff would have been designed, our tariffs are designed based on brand new systems, because this in recognition of, it recognizes a degradation rate, an assumed degradation rate of the panels over a period of time. So if you're installing a new system, but using secondhand panels that are already degraded, it is unlikely that system will give you the same level of output as a brand new system. So the assumptions will not be consistent with what the rates that are charged in the feed-in tariff, in which case then you're not going to be making as much money to pay back the loan with the secondhand system.
Right.
Though the secondhand system will have to come in under a different program with different rates. So I'm no technician, but I would caution anybody making the assumption that by buying secondhand panels, you end up getting the same level of output as if you were installing a brand new system.
Right. At Republic Bank, we normally ask our clients to install tier 1 panels, and the installer has to confirm that they are tier 1 panels, and they have to be new panels. So we at this point in time, we are not doing secondhand panels.
But if you choose to get secondhand panels, there's always the unsecured option. So we don't have to take we don't take the panels as security per se. So you get it unsecured, we go up to 50,000. I'm sure that'll be sufficient to purchase the panels, and then you will just get the approvals the usual way through the vendor, and you can have those installed on your property.
Okay.
Same here at Public Workers. We would do it as unsecured. We wouldn't be holding the panels as security, but if you have the ability to repay for those secondhand panels, we would look at the loan favorably.
Understood.
And you have to be able to repay from your salary, because obviously the income from the secondhand panels may not be sufficient to cover the debt. So that would be a totally different, it will be unsecured, but from your income and not the panel's income.
Correct.
Understood. And I'm assuming the same for you as well, Kim.
Same,
Yes,
same for us,
definitely. We
same
will
for
go
us.
the unsecured route for sure.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so before Kathy, before you come again, there was a question here that was sent to me surrounding insurance. So it says here that Republic Bank would have mentioned their need for insurance on the modules, and Scotia, because of the nature of their offer through equity financing, and by virtue of that, the property would be insured. What provisions, if any, does the other institutions make for insurance? So will this be insuring the panels or the facility? So mention was made by Republic Bank, and mention was Scotia, and mention was made by Republic Bank. But I want to know the other institutions if they have any provisions in place for insurance.
All right, Sheldon, I can
Well,
go
we
first on this one.
mentioned that. Sorry.
Yeah. So sorry. BW. Sorry.
It is public affairs.
Yes. There you go. Sorry.
So we did mention that as well, that we would have insurance in place for the panels once they're being held as security. If it's a mortgage, obviously the property would be insured, and that would be an extension of the existing property insurance.
Okay. And Gregory?
Sure. So this is a major investment. So again, our mandate is to provide sound financial advice to clients. And anytime a client is investing in a significant asset, it is always advisable that that asset be insured. And there is provision within the typical homeowner's insurance policy. And First Caribbean is able to actually extend seamless insurance solutions, I should add, which also takes the hassle out of both putting the policy in place as well as renewals. But the basic idea is that you can simply extend your contents insurance to include the panel, same as you would cover all the appliances, list them for your home. And this is really the client looking to protect their investment as the first measure, and then secondly, to insure the bank. Now, you also asked the question about whether it is insurance for the system. So the insurance of the system is so that, let's say we have a, and I almost hate to say the words, let's say we have a weather event and, those panels are scattered over the neighborhood, let's say, right? We've been fortunate, we haven't been tested. That insurance policy will provide coverage and ensure that that system is replaced. Now, you asked about insurance for the loan. Insurance for the loan is a secondary matter, and that is available on any loan. So we do have creditors insurance for loans, but that is more in the case of, let's say, premature death, which is always also something that is a delicate subject, but it can happen, to protect the family from such an event. But all types of insurance are available.
Okay, thank you. Kathy? Your hand is up. I don't know if you had made a point before.
Yeah, I have a question, 2 questions. My apologies, noise in the background. Carlos mentioned energy efficiency, and I thought then about, does the bank have any discussion with the prospective borrowers about energy efficiency? Because one of the things that I've heard in the past, people say the sun's energy is free, and I say the sun energy is free. However, harnessing the sun's energy is not. So you buy a system that is structured to give you a certain amount of output, and then you go ahead and you install this air conditioner in your house. You don't think twice about leaving on fans, and the output, you get an output, but you're also using that energy constantly on other things that you wouldn't have considered when you first installed your system. So then you have to actually pull your pocket to pay the loan, where when you actually install the project, that wasn't the plan. So is that a conversation that you have with your borrowers? That's the first question. And then the second question is along the similar sort of line of thought. So let's say when you install your system, the cost of oil on the international market was $50 a barrel. And then like last year, the cost of fuel went to $100+ a barrel. And you use a little bit of you have to buy some energy from the light and power. So you're now buying that at a more expensive rate, and and it feels like you're ending up paying more money to the light and power, and the numbers don't add up the same way as when you first install the panel. Have you had any situations where something like that has happened, where persons come to you and say, I'm struggling because the cost of fuel on the international market is high. We've had hurricanes, the rain's been falling non-stop. We've had volcanic ash in the area. So I'm not getting the same level of output as I would have wanted, would have expected, and I'm struggling. Sorry, those are two questions, sorry.
Yeah, two big questions. Who wants to go first?
So,
Okay, go ahead, Harriet.
sorry.
I'll come after.
So, that is a conversation that we don't typically have with our clients, but it is a conversation that everybody should really think about, because just because you have the panels on your house don't mean that you could install everything, because then you wouldn't get the returns, as Kathy said. So that is not something that we talk to clients about. Unfortunately, I believe it is something that we could do. We could talk about, right, Carlos?
Yeah, definitely. That's a discussion really with the vendor, because the vendor would determine the capacity of the roof, and based on the capacity, how many panels you can actually hold, and then what revenue that can generate, right? So we don't necessarily have that conversation generally with the customers. The vendor usually has that conversation with them, and based on the type of appliances they have in the homes. What we do though is we assess it from a credit perspective. So in the event, as I said, we want people to invest in the RE loans systems, but we don't want them to pull their pocket. So we try as much as possible to look at a standalone facility. So again, when we structure it, we make sure in most cases that the money that you're earning is sufficient to cover the loan, right? So yes, there will be fluctuations, and again, if you structure it properly, the payment that you come up with to give to the customer, it will be sufficient, and we'll be able to weather most fluctuations in terms of those types of fluctuations. And sometimes some customers might pull their pocket because again, for example, suppose we give them a short-term loan, we give them for 7 years because they want it to finish fast. And the price of, because we structure it in line with the actual revenue, not to give them any excess, but everything is going straight to the loan. They're okay with, those types of customers are okay with pulling their pocket for the additional piece, because from the get-go, the intention was always to repay the loan as fast as possible. So again, we always discuss what the needs are, and then by having that initial discussion, then you structure the loan accordingly. But generally speaking, the loan is, from a credit perspective, the loan tenor and the payment that we come up with is usually sufficient to weather these types of fluctuations in the market.
Okay, so this is a, thank you very much. This is a two-part question, and Kathy, as it relates to behaviors, because as you said, you may have a system and you started out with X, but then your behaviors change. You have an electric stove, you start using the dryer at night. So all of these things are going to eat into whatever profits or whatever your returns will be. And the conversation even get a little deeper for us when we are having the conversations with our members who are interested in a battery-based system, because as you know, during the day, the system will generate the storage for during the night. So when we have the conversation, we are also having the conversation about a behavioral change because now you have to change your patterns. And there are installers out there that if they're doing battery-based systems, what they will install a monitoring device that tells you the types of their patterns, the person's patterns for a week period. And then they can design a solution for you that says, okay, hey, this is where you are, and this is the system that will be your preference. And I'm speaking specifically for a battery-based system. So we do have those type of discussions with our members, especially if they are going towards the direction of a battery-based solution. Outside of a battery-based solution, though, there are a lot of things that persons can do that we encourage to help reduce their electricity without even going to renewable energy. So we start there with some education, and then we move on based on what the member is requesting.
Okay, thank you, Kim or Gregory.
For us, we would direct the customer to go directly to the energy company, where they would be able to share most of their knowledge to assist the customer to ensure that they are taking the right product to suit them. We would deal specifically with the financing element of it, noting that we're not knowledgeable as it relates to the panels and what they would need and that type of stuff. So when the customer come, they already come with, sound knowledge based on the investment they're about to get themselves involved in.
Okay, thanks, Gregory.
Sure. So let me first start by acknowledging that this is, at the end of the day, an investment. It's a major investment. And like homeowners, when they're making the decision to purchase versus rent, clients are making the decision to own their own power generation capability versus continuing to rent it indefinitely from the light and power. So with every investment, there is some risk, as Kathy Ann mentioned. Oil prices could go up, but the reality is whether you invest in the system or not, that will happen. And this basically provides a hedge to those external events. And beyond that, we also recognize that there are the additional benefits. There's at the macro Barbados economic level, there's the foreign exchange savings, there's the climate impact for those concerned about the rising temperatures and impact on our coastlines and our children's future, and of course the passive income. And Kathy Ann also mentioned the volcanic eruption, and I just actually brought up a screen from April 2021, which actually comes standard with any investment in a renewable energy system from most of the major installers. You get an app. So I actually went back to April 2021, and I hope you can see my screen, but
yeah,
the day after the volcanic eruption was April 10th. You saw production fall to negligible levels. 2 days later, it rained, so the ash got washed away. It rebounded significantly. A few days later, it rained again, and then it normalized. So it's a very resilient technology. However, there are investment risks, but this is a medium to long-term outlook, and we are happy to back the clients with this investment because we think the benefits offset the risk.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that this as well.
So actually, Gregory, question for you, Gregory. Did you get your panels cleaned after the ash fall?
I did, and the gutters at every crevice that the dust, volcanic dust came in it. And of course, there was also that community effort of dealing with the shared spaces because, then there was also dust in the streets. But yes, panel cleaning after that type of event is necessary.
Okay, understood. Okay, as we're approaching 8 o'clock, we're coming to wrap up now. So I'm gonna allow everyone to give a 1 minute each, just to wrap up, just to final words. What do you tell the people of Barbados? They want to get involved in renewable energy. What are your last words for them? I'm gonna start first with, well, as your mic is unmuted, Gregory, you'll go first.
Sure. Well, first off, I want to again say thank you to the FTC for including First Caribbean in this round of renewable energy conversations. And I really just want to encourage the persons thinking about investing in renewable energy to, continue with your research, gather those quotations, talk to your, any family members or colleagues that have a system. Gather your information and make that informed decision. I've personally helped scores of clients, staff, family members, neighbors on their own journeys, and I'm yet to encounter anyone who regrets it. I will tell you, my personal experience is that the only regret is persons not having done it sooner. So thank you again, and we look forward to working with those persons that are interested in partnering with First Caribbean to make their ownership of a PV or other renewable energy system or renewable energy vehicle a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Republic Bank.
Hi, so what I would say to everyone is that the renewable energy product financing is the best way to go with declining energy prices. We're also contributing to the climate change, reducing fossil fuels. And I can tell you from my personal experience, I too have the panels on my house, and it was a good investment. Republic Bank has the lowest rates in the market, so I believe you should choose Republic Bank to do your financing.
All right, thank you. Kim, Scotiabank.
Okay, thank you so much to you, the Fair Trade Commission, for having us on board. We believe it is a very great initiative, and I'm sure that all of the panelists today would have given persons, the viewers, something certainly to think about. All the different scenarios we would have mentioned. It is important to ensure that you collect as much knowledge, do a lot of research, and for sure, it would be a great decision once you have all the information you need. Definitely, we are very happy to have a discussion with you, sit down, we look at the financial element of it, we do the planning with you, and most certainly we will guide you every step of the way to ensure that not only you're making the best decision as it relates to getting involved in the renewable energy, but most definitely choosing Scotiabank to get you or to see through your dreams. We are here for your every future.
Thank you. And Tricia from the workers.
Hey, good night. First, I want to thank the Fair Trading Commission for having us tonight. It was an insightful conversation with everybody, all the different lenders from the different financial institutions. And I believe that the listeners would have learned a lot. I did. So thank you for that. What I would say to our members and prospective members, we are willing to walk with you through this journey. We know it's a big step, but it is the best step to make right now for your future, being involved with renewable energy. We are here to guide you. We are here to have those conversations, help you make the best decisions for you and your family and for your businesses as well. So come in at any of our conveniently located branches across Barbados, from the top of St. Philip to St. Peter. Even at our mobile center, you can have those conversations with any of our lenders who would walk you through this process and make sure and ensure that you make the best decision for yourself, your family, and your future. Thank you once again to the Fair Trading Commission for having us, and we are available, Harriet and myself, at any time via the telephone numbers that we have, via our email addresses. And as I said, at any of our branches, you can reach out to us and we would have those conversations to make your journey easier and to enhance the quality of your lives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So as we are wrapping up now, I speak on behalf of myself and the Fair Trading Commission as I say thank you all to the panelists panelists for coming here this evening and sharing with us. It was indeed insightful for me as well. I did learn a couple of things. I mean, and I did definitely learn a couple of things. And persons here, I'm sure also they would have learned a lot. And my final words for everyone here this evening is that, as was said by many of the panelists, it is definitely important to first have that conversation. And that conversation starts with first understanding that getting involved in renewable energy is a good move. It is definitely a good move because there are benefits to it. It's not benefits both for your pocket. I mean, we all interested in our pocket, but it's benefits for our pockets, yes, but it's also benefits for us in terms of the climate action, because the reality is that we are impacted by climate change. We definitely are. So that in itself is one aspect, but as Carlos would have alluded to, that, you know, some persons go into it for one purpose, some do it for another reason. But the idea is that we understand that there's more than one reason why you might get involved in renewable energy. But the idea is that you should get involved in renewable energy. That is what we're aiming for everyone to get involved. Understand that it is renewable energy is not just PV systems. You know, there's hydro, there's wind, there's other aspects, and even what was even mentioned in terms of energy efficiency, because that in itself is actually a part of it. Because when we get involved, when we have renewable energy systems, that is to offset the cost of our electricity consumption. But guess what? If you reduce that consumption by changing out bulbs and changing out appliances, that also now impacts how much we actually have to pay. Because if you're using less, it means that we essentially are paying less. So, and actually, energy efficiency is actually a low-hanging fruit. So that is actually one that you can actually reach for a little easier, because we know that systems are a bit more expensive to first start up, because they know that the issue that a lot of persons find and a lot of persons have is that little hurdle that they have in the very beginning, which is the capital cost up front to buy these systems. But the idea is that we understand, having come here this evening, that all the institutions are here to work with you. The intention is to work with you for you to get to a point where you can own your own system, and for you to then be able to then offset your own consumption and then be able to make a passive income, right? So we did learn a lot for sure. And so, as I said, have a conversation, but as much as possible, sessions like this, go and listen, because the reality is that this session is a conversation about finances, but there might be another session that might be relating to the different types of technologies, or it might be a case where you have a conversation with the installers, the developers, whatever the case may be. But the idea is to understand the whole process, because, you know, this is only one aspect, but there's a lot more to understand. But the idea is that know as much as you can, try to understand as much as you can, and have a conversation with those persons that are involved in the process. And once you've done that, you are in the right position for you to move forward to achieving your goals. That being said, we are finished for the night. It's 8 o'clock. I want to thank you all. Thank you for coming. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evenings. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
and the same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, everyone.